Well, joining us now with more on this is Sheila North. She is a former Grand Chief for Northern Manitoba. Sheila, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so what's your stance on the pipeline?
Well, I think that there is, of course, merit to the grievances that we're hearing about across the country from Indigenous groups. They've been long-standing, even over 150 years, and maybe longer than that in a lot of areas. So there is a lot of merit. And I also understand the situation of the economic, viability of what's going on with all of this and the volatility. So, I try to stay neutral in a lot of things, but it's hard to do that sometimes when you see aggression against Indigenous people.
Well, the Minister of Indigenous Services, Mark Miller, is meeting with members of the Mohawk First Nation this morning. What would you ask the minister if you were speaking with him this morning?
Well, I would ask for respect and continued dialogue. I think that's what's missing in a lot of this situation. And, as we know, negotiation and the art of negotiation is that you have to show respect. And so far, people have been feeling disrespected in this situation, and it seems to be growing. That sentiment seems to be growing. So there has to be a lot of respect across the board. And I would also ask for, seats at the decision-making table, because the treaties and the agreements that were made a long time ago by our ancestors, have said that they would share the land and the resources. But what does that really mean? We haven't seen that part of that in our communities and Indigenous, populations, and the economic starvation that our people have faced over generations is very real. We talk about Vanessa Lee just listed some of the economic impacts right now felt in Canada. But we feel these, and we've felt these for generations. Our people are poor and displaced and across the country. So we have to remember that in the bigger picture.
Absolutely. And just moments ago, Mark Miller said that he was there in peace and friendship. Is there anything the minister can do to convince the representatives to stand down on the blockades?
Well, he has to definitely be sincere, and I can't say that he isn't, because we don't know. I don't know. But I hope that he is sincere. And even with that, a lot of people have come to the Indigenous people and made promises. So we have a long memory and history of people making promises, governments making promises and not living up to them. So, we'll just have to see how things go. And this is about a bigger issue, I think, across the country. People feeling that they have to now assert who they are. And it's not just Indigenous people. We have to remember that when you show pictures of protests, there is a lot of non-Indigenous people at these rallies. And this is reconciliation. This is what Canada wanted, is for better understanding. And it seems like there's a lot of non-Indigenous people that are also on board and becoming those allies that these situations need. So it isn't an easy situation. This is complex, but that's what reconciliation is and should be.
Now, Sheila, this is my last question for you. Are you optimistic that a compromise is possible today?
Oh, I think everything is possible at this point. I think that we have to remember the bigger goal and the bigger picture. I think that if Indigenous people were alongside with decision makers all these past generations, we wouldn't see these kind of disputes. But we have. And of course, this also has to do with the land and the protection of it. I think we'd be better environmentally if we had Indigenous people on board right from the get-go to make sure that things were done sustainably. And that's what a lot of this is at the heart of the issue. People are feeling that the Mother Earth needs protection. And I think that we have to come to terms with what that means. And while keeping in mind we still need to feed people, and we still have a lot of dialogue left to do in this country.
All right, we're going to leave it there. That is Sheila North, former Grand Chief of Northern Manitoba. Thanks again for your time, Sheila.
You're welcome. Thank you.